So I would like to think that I'm a pretty good negotiator. Even coming into this class, I have always been one to negotiate. It's something I've enjoyed doing, and I've always had the inclination to do so. So whether it was, at airports, trying to negotiate extra concessions whenever something went wrong, or trying to get price discounts when I buy in bulk. My inclination has always been to negotiate. So I was really excited coming to this class to learn more. I was also involved in a number of real estate transactions before Darden and learned a lot from that. But I do feel like I've improved a lot throughout the course of the class. I think the two biggest areas where I have improved are, first getting better at through practice, getting a hunch for where the other party's BATNA is and learning how to manage that. And second is practicing listening more and saying less, especially early on. So there are a few tools, specific tools that I've found particularly helpful throughout this course that we've learned and that I've practiced, and that I'm going to continue to practice going forward. So first, there was a reading we had that talked a lot about differences and how rather than differences primarily being a cause for concern and for conflict in a negotiation, the reading really talked about how differences are where we create value in a negotiation. I think especially when one party getting a concession doesn't affect the other party negatively, then in that case, a negotiation really becomes an opportunity to make both parties better off than they were when they came in. So the Harbor Corps negotiation is a particular one that comes to mind where I saw this at play. With all the different parties in the room, we were really able to take time to get an understanding of what mattered to everybody and then reach a unanimous decision. So everyone walked out of that room with a better outcome than they thought that they were going to get or that they came in with. The second concept that I've found really interesting and helpful as a tool is anchoring. I found the reading really interesting where it talked about how anchoring can affect the psychology of people in a negotiation and really drive differences in outcomes. And so I've practiced this a lot throughout this course, and I think a lot of my classmates have too. Most recently, I practiced this in the Compressor Corp case. My approach to this case, or negotiation rather, was to come in and sort of lay my demands out on the table, but anchor with a number that was really beneficial to me. And so that's what I did, and I feel like I got a pretty good outcome. And then the third tool that I found particularly helpful is the tool of emotions. And so there was a reading that we had that basically showed that oftentimes getting the best deal for yourself or for your organization is going to require you to be a little emotionally uncomfortable. I think that's something that's naturally difficult for me because I so want everyone to be happy. And so the Bullard House's negotiation was somewhere where I practiced this. Even though we probably shouldn't have reached a deal in hindsight, we really pushed the other party to their breaking point and got a number that we felt good with at the time, at least. So the biggest things that I need to work on going forward are continuing to be cognizant about listening more and talking less. And then secondly, being cognizant about negative emotions and how they can affect me, again, because I am generally uncomfortable with conflict, interpersonal conflict with people who I'm going to have a continuing relationship. So my action plan for working on these two things are first, given my different club roles for next year, I'm going to be negotiating with caterers and the like going forward. So I'm really going to try and ask open-ended questions instead of laying my cards on the table early. Second, I really like the idea of having someone sit in on your negotiation or listen in so that they can give you feedback. So I'm going to do that. And thirdly, and this kind of connects to the second one, I'm married, and my wife gives me a lot of good feedback when she feels like I'm talking too much and not listening in conversations with different people or between each other. And so I'm going to talk to her and tell her that I'm trying to work on these two areas, the ones that I mentioned in terms of negotiations, and have her listen in when I'm speaking to a caterer or negotiating a concession throughout the normal course of life.